Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
It must be, it has to be, with that big sound it's gotta be KSCO.
Listening to AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz 10:05, a beautiful Saturday morning, September 23rd, 2017. I am Jason Struby with the weather and traffic. Also a reminder, this weekend we got fantastic specials going on with your longevity products. Dave in the Dave Cave right now. He'll be there till 2. I'll be here after that today and tomorrow. He's got Ultimate Daily Classic, Gluco Gel Sweeties, Plant-Derived Minerals, Selenium books, CDs, DVDs, catalogs, and of course Healthy Start Packs, BTT, and much more. 2300 Portola Drive, 10:05. Let's get a quick look at the traffic. Highway 1 northbound, all clear to Santa Cruz. Southbound looks good to Monterey. 68 101, not a problem. 17 heavy southbound as you pass the Lex. About 4 miles of traffic there. Otherwise, your roadways look good. A high near 71 today, and it's 10:06. Time for this Saturday special with your host, Mike Z, KSCO.
Jason Struby.
Yeah.
Hi, Jason Struby. I just got back from the garage.
Nice.
Just in the knick of time. So we're gonna go live with video.
Yes, we are running live on YouTube right now. Actually,
really?
I'm gonna hit your cameras up here.
Oh.
We've just got the beach cam rolling right now.
Oh, I see. The beach cam. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have both of the others here connected.
Okay,
And so, if some louse doesn't call me, then it won't be interrupted. But since the video is coming from smartphones, if someone calls me on my smartphone, which no one who knows me should have any business calling me during the Saturday special anyhow, but if they forget, or if someone who doesn't realize that we're on the air calls, then they're going to knock the video off. Isn't that terrible?
I'm calling your cell phone right now.
Okay.
Just kidding.
To say yes. Okay, fine. So, nothing is happening, but I guess I can wait until something happens, right?
Right.
And bore the audience to death. Could this be the end of KSCO as we've known it?
Wow.
It is. It's going to be a pretty heavy subject today. And I don't... People know that I have tongue-in-cheek a lot of the times. And that I have sort of an odd sense of humor. But this is not something that to make jokes about or be humorous about. It's a really serious thing. KSCO is under attack. We're under attack no matter what we do. We're under attack for being the way we have been for a long time, and that is a voice for everyone. And yeah, let's see, Wirecast would like to connect with you. Yeah, connect. Okay, are we connected? Yeah, allow. Okay. So yeah, it should be connecting here, so that we should have the video. You see me there?
Not quite yet. And
all right.
I'm going to
so
hit the other
go
one
ahead
too.
through the other one. Yeah. Okay. So back to the discussion. I think people are tuning into. We might have a larger audience than we normally do for the Saturday special, which might not be saying much. I don't know, but I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in because they're going to be interested in a more than a 3-minute, editorial / commentary / message discussion from me. I think they want a clarification of the direction the radio station is going, and I plan to present that direction today. And we're going to be a better radio station for it, not a worse radio station for it. So everybody's mad at me right now, except I guess some of the people who have been complaining for quite a number of weeks, asking questions like, how can you live with yourself being a platform for hate, racist speech and so forth. And I've always taken issue with that. But upon a lot of soul searching and a whole lot of reflective thought on where we've been, and I don't regret where we've been at all over the years, over the past almost 27 years. It's going to be 27 years that we've had the radio station this coming January 31st. And actually, the radio station itself celebrated its 70th anniversary of its birth a couple days ago on September 21st. September 21st, 1947, KSCO went on the air. I was minus 4 years old when my family was arriving in Santa Cruz for the first time to an elated town that it had its own radio station. KSCO stood for now not keeping senior citizens occupied. That's sort of a joke, but what it stood for was Santa Cruz's own, and I guess it still does. But a lot of people are upset because they've been upset with us for a long, long time. The left has been upset with us for a long time because we didn't exercise censorship or curtailment of freedom of speech. And the right is very upset with us now because I guess they must figure the camel has its nose under the tent, because we have, yesterday I let everybody know with an editorial that I asked to be played every hour on the radio station so our entire audience, or most of it, would hear it, that we're going to go in a different direction now. It's not going to be much different from where we've been. We're going to be, instead of being a voice for everyone, we're going to be a voice for almost everyone, right? Here's an opening statement for the Saturday special, okay? For 27 years, I've proudly operated my independent talk radio station, KSCO Santa Cruz, as finally a voice for everyone, quote unquote. Yesterday, I decided to make a minor modification. From now on, we will be, quote, a voice for everyone except Nazi sympathizers, white supremacists, Jew haters, and Holocaust deniers, unquote. To implement this, we will avoid discussion of these topics, which I consider toxic. White genocide, race baiting, and promotion of the notion that Israel and evil Zionist Jews are controlling the United States and the world. So, effective immediately, our hosts and callers will either live within these guidelines, or call them restrictions, or they won't. And if they won't, they will not be welcome on KSCO anymore. As expected, the bleep has hit the fan. But I am not going to relent, ladies and gentlemen. But I will spend the program today explaining, and I hope answering all the questions. I believe that going forward, KSCO is going to be a much better radio station than we've been, and I think we've been a pretty damn good one all along, up until now. We're just going to be better, and I think we're going to be a lot better. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I mean, we will lose a good portion of our audience, and what else is new? You know, I've made mistakes before. I make a lot of them, and I'm hoping this is not one. But we're going to move in the direction of not having KSCO be an attraction for bad people. I think there's enough good people who should be talking together and coming up with solutions. And that doesn't mean we're not going to have a radio station with a lot of fun and a lot of controversy and a lot of humor and so forth. We haven't jettisoned Georgia. If she doesn't want to live within these rules or can't, and I'll have to respect that, then she will leave on her own volition. Her own. That'll be her decision, not mine. So those of you who are gunning for me for muzzling Georgia or for creating conditions that will make her want to leave, that's not the case at all. But I'm not going to change anybody's mind. You're going to believe what you want to believe. Okay? I've done my best to run a station with integrity for the better part of 27 years now. And lately, I've been disturbed that the radio station was going in a direction that I did not want it to go. Okay? So we're making a little correction. And I can't think of how to make that correction without imposing just a tiny little bit of, what some people will call censorship. I call it avoidance of toxic topics. Who decides what's toxic? I do. It's my radio station, okay? If you want to decide what's toxic and what's not, you go get yourself a radio station, okay? If you offer me enough money, maybe I'll sell you this one, because I'm getting sick of being on the defensive all the time instead of being celebratory. There's a damn good reason to be celebratory for this radio station. There's nothing like it in the continent. There's nothing like it in the world, okay? And people are saying that I'm about to change, that I've given in. Those who are enemies of free speech have won. No, that's not true at all. It's not true at all. Is Michael Olson in the studio?
Yes.
Okay, Michael, do you have anything to say at this point?
No.
Okay,
I'm listening.
Okay, that's great. I thought you might want to because you were.
Michael, just a minute. I will say that you're sounding kind of toxic right now.
Okay, fine. You have a toxic. What do you think is toxic?
The tone of your voice.
Oh, okay.
And that's really, to me, the frightening thing is that, we decide what is toxic and not, what subjects are toxic and not. And I'm of the opinion that there are no subjects per se that are toxic. It's the way we address them that get toxic. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Do you think that that white genocide and white pride and Georgia this is what she stands for, and I'm not against what she stands for, but let's talk about that for a minute. I think the world of Georgia. Make no mistake about that, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but what Georgia has sunken her teeth into recently is what is sending the radio station in a direction that I, as the owner, don't want it to go. And what is that? That's as a haven for white supremacists, as a haven for Nazis and Nazi sympathizers. Do you disagree with anything I'm saying?
Well, I don't know. That's kind of confused me. What I hear her saying is that she wants to take pride in her white race.
That's what I hear her saying too.
And she says, why is it wrong for me to take pride in my white race when every other race gets to take pride in their race?
Right.
So
and the answer to that question is there is no reason. There is no reason. Okay. But why do we need to?
Well, because it is what's being put out there today everywhere you look. And I think specifically of what's going on in college campuses, for example. Just read a piece in the Wall Street Journal yesterday or the day before about Evergreen State College and how a biology professor was fired, essentially, for objecting to a a day in which white people were not allowed to go to school because they were white. And he was fired for that. And so that is the subject on everyone's minds and tongues these days. So if we are not to put it on the table on a news talk radio station, then what are we?
Let me ask you this question without answering that. I guess I'll answer that question because you asked, and I guess it was a rhetorical question. But if we're not going to put that on, then what are we? I guess we're not what we used to be, a voice for everybody, no matter what. And I know that you personally, because you told me so yesterday, are saddened by the decision that I made yesterday about certain subjects which I consider toxic. Okay.
No, I don't think
discussed anymore.
I still don't think I got through to you yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you will with a bunch of people listening now.
Sure. Well, again, as a news talk radio station, I think we're responsible for putting things on the table for the community to discuss. The most difficult thing in the world for news talk hosts to do is to do it gracefully, because people call you up and attack you, both sides, right? And so it's easy. What happens generally is that news talk hosts get personally involved in the conflict and get angry, and so it raises the decibel levels, and people start yelling at each other and hating each other, and then saying stupid things, and away you go. But I think really it's a radio station's responsibility, and all media really, to put things on the table and for discussion, and that's the First Amendment. It's the only thing that keeps this country alive. It's the only thing really that separates us from becoming a Venezuela, is because we can stand up and say, no, this is not right. And that First Amendment is all we have. That's really it. And it's so very, very important. And when we lose that right to stand up and speak freely, we're dead.
And we do have
I totally agree with what you just said, Michael. What'd you say, Jason?
we do have a high price. And also, do we want to start the show?
Yeah.
Good morning, a brighter day is here. Good morning, may we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Okay, welcome to the Saturday special, ladies and gentlemen. It's MZ. Michael Olson is with us, at least for a time. I know a lot of you are concerned about the new rules in effect about avoiding certain topics that would tend to attract people that I don't want to particularly attract. And I don't want to become a haven for and have a reputation for having those kinds of people.
Good morning, now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
I guess that makes me a bigot. I guess that makes me a bigot against bigots. I guess it does. Okay, you want to participate in the conversation, 479-1080 is the phone number. That's in area 831. If you want to send me an email, it's mz@ksco.com. I'm very proud of KSCO, where we are, but I'm not proud of where we were headed. So I took action yesterday by changing our status of 27 years of being a voice for everyone to being a voice for everyone except Nazis, Nazi sympathizers, white supremacists, Holocaust deniers, and Jew haters. Yeah, I don't want that. I want the station to be used for that. And I think a lot of people are very angry about that, and they think I'm out of my mind, and they think I'm a hypocrite. And Michael is pointing out some he hasn't said a thing that I can argue with. And I guess that's been the problem. I've talked to so many people in the last few weeks, but in the last week in particular, ever since that Good Times article. I'm just gonna have to make my own decision. Maybe it's the last person I talk to has the most influence on me. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but Michael, let's put on one of those particularly influential people who's on the phone right now. It'd be Glenn, the high-priced consultant, who's been with us for years. I've known Glenn since a month or two after I bought the radio station. He was 22 years old and an intern at KGO Radio back then. And over the years, he's given me a lot of advice. Some of it not so good, but most of it pretty good. And by the way, he was in the last 2 or 3 years, he has been Georgia's number one fan. I mean, he kept pushing. You realize what you have, Michael? What you have in Georgia? There's someone who's very, very special. There's no one like her.
Well, wait a minute, Michael.
What?
Let's ask Glenn what did make Georgia special with respect to being a news talk radio host.
Okay, let's put Glenn on. Glenn, you're on.
Passion is what sells in talk radio. And nobody has passion and the ability to speak without any, filter. Just really lay it on the line and speak directly from the heart and not get too cerebral. Nobody could do better than Georgia, and that is the mark of a great entertainer, talk radio entertainer. And she's a fantastic one, and she's done a great job developing an audience. I mean, she's done all the things that program directors dream for. She's built a following. I mean, that is very hard, especially given the fact that you don't have 5-day-a-week shows. She's only on twice a week. Most people, when they build an audience, they have a 5-day-a-week, what we call in the business a strip across the week, Monday through Friday. And Georgia, just on a couple days a week, really developed a huge following, unlike any talk show host you've had since maybe Brian Maloney. I don't know. And definitely should be commended for that.
Okay, next. Michael asked you a question. Did you hear that? Maybe you.
No, he asked.
What made her so special?
Yeah.
What made her so special?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you did answer the question. I'm sorry. I'm sort of discombobulated here. So that leads to the next question. What changed, Glenn?
Well,
in Georgia,
you
couldn't be her advocate
I think
anymore.
She's going down the wrong path, and I think it will stain the radio station. It will stain your brand. And what Michael Olson was saying is true. We have a First Amendment, but you are not the government, and this radio station is not owned by the people. It's not the people's KSCO. It's a private radio station. You're in business primarily to reach an audience that you can sell to advertisers. And also, you want to have something that you personally are proud of. Editorializing and editorial control over content is as old as the medium itself. Every single station owner or network does it. You have to have content that represents you as a human being that you're proud of. And if you're not proud of running into someone on the street corner who's African American and looking them in the eye and shaking their hand because you're embarrassed about something that's said on your radio station that's hateful or bigoted, then you have every right to exercise editorial control on your station. That's not against the First Amendment. That's just freedom and capitalism.
That's just
business. Radio is a private business. It's a private radio station. It's not a public radio station. Not that a public radio station would tolerate it either. The fact is, there's two things going on. I am and have been a great supporter of Donald Trump. I voted for him tell you, my family all hated me for it. I mean, I'm in a sea of liberals. All my friends and family are liberals. I'm the only one. I have a pretty liberal lifestyle, but you know, I was so I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, hoping that maybe he would take down Hillary, but he couldn't because she was a con artist and found ways behind the scenes to steal the election from him. So I felt like I wasn't going to.
Now, Glenn, wait a minute, Glenn.
Wait, hold on, let me finish.
No. Just a minute. I heard you say something very bigoted against Hillary Clinton, and I think you should be banned from the radio.
Okay, go ahead.
No, that's just what I said.
Okay. Anyway, moving along.
The pot calling the kettle black.
Moving along. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Of course.
If Michael wants to exercise editorial control, he can throw me off any time. If that's his right.
Glenn, we were just having a little fun here. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, this is a very important topic. So the fact is, there's two different kinds of nationalism. There's nationalism, people who are America first and want to favor our country with trade policies, and economic nationalism, which I think is a wonderful thing, and it's about time we've done it because our infrastructure in this country has been gutted, our manufacturing infrastructure, a lot of our jobs for people who maybe aren't pencil pushers or computer geeks, you know, there aren't that many jobs left other than flipping burgers. And I do think that economic nationalism is needed at this time, especially when China is so undercutting us. So that's another reason why I supported Trump. But there's another kind of nationalism, white nationalism, and ethno-nationalism. And while this country at one time was a white country, was founded by white people, it doesn't mean it is going to be and is now. In the 20th century, we've largely become a country of immigrants. In the 19th century, we brought slaves over here on slave ships. And slowly but surely, we are no longer a white country, like it or not. And so I think it's very divisive and very toxic to talk about white pride and white nationalism, especially in this day and age when we have a president who's trying to do the right thing, and every second he's getting bombarded by a media who wants to consider him a racist. And I don't really think he is. I don't think Georgia is doing the president any favors by espousing white nationalism on the radio. So that's why I made a decision to no longer support Georgia.
Let me ask you this, Glenn. I know that you do not approve of white nationalism. Do you approve of black nationalism and brown nationalism and yellow nationalism and so on?
That's what I asked him earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
Within this country, as a political force, no. However, you have to make sure you distinguish between rights and nationalism. And in order to do that, you have to understand the history of this country. We brought people over here against their will on slave ships, okay, just a little more than 100 years ago, 150 years ago, against their will. They were slaves for a while. Then we said, okay, you're free, now go earn a living. There was discrimination in the workplace. We know that. It's a fact. They weren't allowed to vote for many years and participate in the political system. And up until the 1960s, they couldn't even drink out of the same water fountain in some parts of the country. So I can certainly understand where they're coming from if they're looking after their own interests. And that is right.
Who's the pronoun?
Right,
Who's who? Which?
Well,
are you talking about white people or brown black people? I've lost track.
If you're talking about brown people, I don't have a problem with them asserting that they have some rights, and those rights were fought for. So you have to understand there's a history of black people fighting for their rights under the Constitution in this country. And I would say that now, in this day and age, they have them. So it is a pretty fair, colorblind society. There's always going to be exceptions to that rule, and police who are bigoted, and black people who are shot for taking their wallet out to hand the cop the ID. And that's got to be confronted. But that's not black nationalism. That is blacks fighting for their rights and to be treated fairly and equally under the law.
Well, wait a minute. What is the difference between, I'm lost here, black nationalism and black people fighting for their rights? Is there a difference there?
Yes, there is. Well, first of all, let's talk about what white nationalism is. Certainly, what's the difference there? I mean, is there a history of white people being oppressed in this country? No, there isn't.
Of course there is.
Okay, let's talk about that. I want to hear about this, Michael. Why don't you educate me?
Sure. Look at what happened to General Custer at the Greasy Grass in Montana.
This sounds like a bunch of
having a little fun. But white people have been oppressed just like everybody else. If you ask the Irish what it was like when they came to the United States, they will tell you they were subjected to all kinds of.
Those are immigrants. Those are foreign immigrants. Michael, I don't buy it. Sorry.
Okay.
There's no history of white oppression.
So let me paraphrase what you're saying.
There's no white genocide. That's a bunch of bull.
Okay.
And you know it.
Okay. So let me paraphrase or try to see what you're saying. And if I'm wrong, please tell me where I'm wrong. Okay. It is wrong for white people to stand up for the white race to here and now in the United States. It is okay for black people and brown people and yellow people to stand up for their race. Is that what I hear you saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But
well, what is it you're saying?
White people. I don't think what
are you saying,
Georgia
Don?
was doing on. All right, well, if you want to let me speak, I'll speak. I don't think what Georgia is putting forth on her show is productive. For one, we don't want a race war in this country. And number two, no, I don't think white people are oppressed in America as a group.
So white people may not speak up. White people must shut up.
No, they can say whatever. No, they could say whatever they want.
But that's what George is doing.
What
right,
a pregnant
it's not
pause.
Michael's obligation to air it. What I'm saying is, of course George is doing it. It's her right to do it. That doesn't mean Michael, as the owner of the station, has to air it if he doesn't want to.
Well, of course not. Michael can do whatever he wants. It's his radio station.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So as his consultant, I'm advising him to pull the show.
Okay. And only allow black people and brown people and yellow people to talk.
No, not even. He'll make that decision. There's nobody on the air right now on KSCO, and there hasn't been, so far as I know, that are recommending any kind of black nationalist agenda on KSCO. And I think Michael would be smart enough, to exercise discretion if that were to ever happen.
Well, I think we had one of our all-time favorites.
Rob Roberts.
Rob Roberts was pretty much that kind of guy.
Was he? I don't think so. I saw him as a colorblind type of person.
Who was just a conservative. He was an unusual.
He was just a conservative. He wasn't
he was a black conservative. There aren't too many of those. Yeah.
Wasn't he also
and
beautiful?
He wasn't even,
huh? Wasn't he also beautiful too? Black and beautiful and bold.
I don't think the humor is funny.
He's
Whatever.
bold, black.
I'm sorry, Michael. Your humor is not appreciated.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'm surprised, as the general sales manager of the station, that you want to look people in the eye who you're selling advertising to and be comfortable with racial hatred on your station.
Where's the racial hatred?
You're defending it. You want to keep Georgia on the air?
Well, if you would be so kind as to be specific about how Georgia is preaching racial hatred.
Think local first. I'm sure they would like to know that you are a big supporter of Georgia.
I am a big supporter of free speech.
Right.
And I will always be a big supporter of free speech.
Nobody is disagreeing with you on that.
You were a big supporter of free speech at one time, but now you have become a supporter of... If Georgia wants to
get on that corner with a megaphone and speak, she should have the right to do it. It's a free country. She wants to have an internet show like David Duke or any of these other.
Let's throw some names around. Let's throw some names
She
around.
wants to do that.
Let's
can
call
be
her
on the internet and
racist.
do that.
She's a sexist. She's a racist. That's what we do when we're in a fit of passion.
No.
You will not
racist,
tell
per
me
se.
what she says that's racist because I don't see it. What did she say that was racist? What? Come on, cough it up, Glenn. What is she saying that's racist? What did she say?
You know, I'm
Give
I'm
it to
on a
me.
walk
Come
right
on,
now.
man. Give it to me.
Sure, I don't
Be a
have anything to
man.
pull
Be
out
a
of my
man,
ass.
Glenn. Cough it up, buddy.
I
What
guess I'm not
what
a
did
man.
Georgia say that was
Okay.
racist?
I cannot tell you verbatim anything because I'm on a walk right now with my iPhone, and I don't have transcripts of shows. Sorry. You got me there.
But you should have, if you have some time, you can come up with some concrete examples.
I'm sure if
Yeah,
I was
Glenn.
at a desk, I could do that. But I've listened to her show well enough to know that she espouses white nationalism to the exclusion of other
what
races.
is white nationalism?
Ask,
All she says is that
Listen to her
I
show.
have a right to speak up for my people. That's right, white nation.
for white
nationalism?
people. But you don't need to have a show on the air that's all about the rights of white people. I'm sorry, you don't. And that's what her show
What
has
should we
become.
talk about, Glenn? What is right to talk about? What do you approve
Look,
of? What does
You know,
Glenn
it-
Fisher
it's really,
approve of?
It's really, it doesn't matter what I approve. What it matters is
Well,
the
of course
station
it does, because you're the one that's
and
objecting
the ownership
here.
of the station, and whether he approves it or not. And if he approves
I've,
it,
al-
Michael
I've always
approves it, it
approved
goes.
of what Georgia. I've always approved of what Georgia said, or I would have pulled the plug. I had lots of opportunities to pull the plug, probably 40 or 50 times in the last 6 months. I've had at least that many complaints from people citing specific things. That
What
she
do they
said.
cite-
And
what
when
do
I
they
went
s-
back, wait, Michael. When I went back, in each case, when I went back to the archive and listened to the recording, because it's very rare that I have the time to listen to, unfortunately, to the Georgia show or any other show on KSCO. So I had to go back to and pull the archive, and I listened to the offensive part of the broadcast, and each time I said, "Well, yeah, it's a
All right,
it's a
I
pretty
thought
strong,
it-
it's a
I
pretty
thought it was.
strong opinion."
Okay, a minute.
But wait a
He
minute,
basically
Glenn.
said-
Wait a minute, Glenn. Let
Okay,
me
Glenn.
finish.
Sorry,
and
sorry.
every time
Sorry,
I
go
have
ahead.
done that, I have concluded that Georgia did not cross the line, and she has yet to cross the line. To tell you the truth, and maybe some would argue that I've acted prematurely and unnecessarily by putting
All
in
right, I did my research. I came up
Okay.
with the answer to Michael's question. She
Go ahead.
has said that why is it's only the black people who are looting during the hurricanes. Now, Michael Olson, please defend that statement.
Well, I don't know. That's it. She asked a question. She didn't make a statement. So
Still,
it must have
it's
an
a rhetorical
answer.
statement.
So
It's a rhetorical statement. Do
it's
you
a
believe
question.
that?
It's a question. It is
Michael,
a
do you
question.
believe that?
No, it's not.
Michael
it's a
Olson,
question.
Michael Olson, general sales manager. Do you believe that only black people rioted after the hurricane?
I
Yes
do
or no?
not know. I have no way of knowing.
If
How would I
but
know?
do you- but she's putting that forth as her opinion.
She put it forth as a question. What is the answer? What is your answer,
Okay.
Glenn?
She with her cohort there also suggested that Jews somehow control the government or the media, and there's a Zionist conspiracy.
I've
She
never
has
heard
said
her
that
say
before.
that. Never heard her say
Yes,
that.
she did.
Okay.
She did.
Then that it should be on tape.
I can't get her word for word, but basically it's been said on the air, and she approved it. On her show.
You'll have to play that back for me. I don't believe it.
All right.
If you
Too
hear
often
it,
on her
would you
show.
change? Would you change your opinion, Michael?
If she said something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I would chew her out royally.
Well, too often on her show, the words whites and blacks and Jews are mentioned. And look, it is a free country, and it is perfectly within the FCC guidelines for her to say whites and blacks and Jews all day long. And that could be the topic of her show. But
Which
it is
which
within
it-
the right
which
of
it
the owner
has
of the radio
become.
station.
Well,
And
again, I hear when I listen to
it's
Georgia.
within the right of the owner of the radio station to do what he wants,
Yeah.
to see if it reflects his personal brand, because that's what KSCO is. It's
Glenn,
Michael Zwirling's
Glenn,
personal brand.
may I express what frightens me most here? Okay, I understand where you're coming from. I truly do. I understand where all the fear is coming from. I truly do. But what frightens me most is what I see happening on our college campuses, because it is so reminiscent of what I learned when I studied Chinese. And the Chinese language books from which I studied came from the Cultural Revolution, which tuned me in and magnified my attention on the Red Guards, and how when Mao and his wife Chongqing turned the Red Guards loose on the country, there was no stopping them. They ran completely amok. Nobody could say anything about anything, because what was politically correct one day was politically incorrect the next day, and it just built on it.
Tell me
and
more.
what I see happening today on our college campuses is that race is being used in the same way that the Mao's Red Guards used words like capitalist roader.
I
and
agree
foreign
with you
devil.
fully.
And so what
Absolutely,
I
and that's
see
horrible.
happening is
And
that
I see
we
it happen
are
to President
losing
Trump.
our collective mind.
You know,
And
Michael, I
and
so
to
agree with you.
are these children who are running amok.
Absolutely,
And they're
I
being
so agree with you. Race is
sponsored,
used-
and they're being sponsored by university professors and the establishment. And what
You are
I
so
see,
correct.
if somebody doesn't step up and say,
Right.
wait a minute, stop, listen, think about what you're doing, then, and above all, if they succeed in shouting down anybody with whom that disagrees with them, then that is when we've lost our First Amendment, and that is when we lost the United States of America.
Okay, I agree with everything you said. I think race is being used as a horrible sword on college campuses. This guy that went to speak up at Berkeley, I forgot his name. You probably know it.
Milos.
No, there was Milo, but there's also this other guy, Shapiro, I think. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Ben Shapiro.
What is his name?
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
They, it is absolutely communism at best. What's going on in college campuses today? Horrible. And the way they use race as a way to attack President Trump over anything. And he's really just trying to do the best he can do. That's terrible. And that's exactly why I think Georgia is detrimental to level-headed conservatives who voted for Donald Trump, because she is only reinforcing the stereotype and making those people at CNN and MSNBC right when they call Trump supporters white nationalists. Steve Bannon did a wonderful interview on 60 Minutes, and he made it very clear there is he has no tolerance for white nationalism. He is an economic nationalist and a nationalist, but not a white nationalist. And that is a very important distinction.
Well, agreed.
This is a really good time for me to read a short email that arrived 22 minutes ago from Pete. And it says, MZ. Oh, the subject line is hypocrisy. MZ, I have been listening to your station for a long time, since the days of the noon balloon. But this is nothing more than you bowing down to the liberal agenda of shutting off free speech. It's very hypocritical of you to bash Holocaust deniers, which I am not, but now you are becoming that what you despise. You are acting like a white genocide denier. The truth is toxic, MZ, and the reality is that there is a war on whites, and anyone who speaks about it gets attacked by the libtards and gives in. Why is it wrong for whites to defend themselves just as you defend, as you should, your Jewish heritage? And that's from Pete. Pete is, I can't argue with any of that. Can you, Michael? Can you, Glenn?
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think whites are being attacked in this country. I think
Whoa!
on college campuses.
Whoa!
I think
Whoa!
Whoa! It's my turn to speak, buddy. Let me finish. Whites are not being attacked as a group in this society. Maybe on college campuses, they're using race as a sword, and it's wrong, and I agree with you fully on that. But I don't think that whites have a history of being oppressed in this country to talk about. And if you want to tell me how whites have a history of being oppressed, like Jim Crow laws to the black people, not letting black people vote, not letting them drink out of the same water fountain, slavery, you want to tell me there's a history of that has went on in this country about white people, speak. I'd like to hear it.
Well, okay, I'll do my best. No, white people did not come here as slaves. True enough. Though a lot of white people did come here as indentured servants, which is not very far from slavery when you think about it.
But not by
Okay,
a racial.
okay. Hold on, Glenn. Hold on. It's true. Now, the African American community most certainly did occupy the lower rungs of social status for long time, for which we are most guilty, and we carry that guilt about with us. Do we not? Oh yes, we do.
I don't think you do.
Well,
because
thank
you
you
have
very much
somebody on
for
the air
what you
who
think. Thank you very much.
In defending, you're
Now,
defending
what
her
I'd
rights
like to
be-
finish the comment, if I might. Okay?
Sure.
Now, and listen, Glenn, I was raised in Montana. I remember distinctly seeing my first black person. Okay? It's hard to hold a lot of prejudice to somebody you've never even known. I mean, and that's what I grew up with, was probably one black person in my whole past. Okay? But, so we go on, and yes, the African American community has been put on. We grant you that. Yes, okay. Now, we elected,
that's
just a minute,
Yeah,
we
go ahead.
elected a black president, Barack Hussein Obama. And a big reason we elected Barack Hussein Obama was as penance for the guilt that we held for having enslaved
That may have been
people.
your reason for voting for him.
I did not
speak
vote
for
for
yourself.
him. I did not
For-
vote
well,
for him.
then you shouldn't say we.
Okay,
because
we
you're not
as a
speaking
people,
for
Glenn.
anyone.
We as a people. Okay.
Well, no,
We
you're
as a
trying
people.
to be a mind reader
well,
of all
just
the
a
other
minute.
people that voted for
Just
him.
a minute. Let me finish my statement, and then you can come after me. Now, we hoped, as a people, that Barack Hussein Obama would bring unification to the races. That was his promise. But in fact, what he did was he used race as a way of further dividing us. And now we are washed up on the shores of this incredible racial animosity that was far
How did
worse
he-
than it's
how did
ever
he
been
use race?
before.
I
That's
don't
what
know how. First of all, I never thought I would be in a position to defend Obama. I don't like him, and I don't like his policies. Like I said, I voted for Trump. That
Well, you
said,
couldn't vote for
I don't see
Obama
how-
in that election, Glenn, because Trump.
No, I
wasn't-
voted for Obama in 2008.
Okay.
In that election, I couldn't have. I did vote for Obama in 2008 because I was hooked in. In any case, I didn't think he was a great president and didn't stand up to his mission. I would agree with you on that.
was, yeah, he was there to unify us, and instead he divided us. And
I don't
now
see
that
that either,
division,
though.
and now
I
that
don't see
division has become so intense, so incredibly intense.
I don't see how he divided us. Could you, tell me a little bit about that?
I believe that was his policy. I believe that's the
What was he
policy.
doing?
Well,
What
I
did
think
he
he
do?
wants
What
some
policy?
examples, Michael. Give us some examples.
The consequence.
division.
It's just the
The
result.
division of the country.
Okay, here.
Well, I
here's-
think the country is more divided now than it's ever been
Absolutely.
in my lifetime.
And that's
for sure.
exactly
Right,
what
but that's
the-
not his fault. As we now know, with the president in office, there's a lot of things he wants to do, but he's not able to get them all done. So
all
you can't-
I'm saying, Glenn, is that people were so happy when Barack Hussein Obama was elected.
Including me. That's true.
Everybody, almost even those who did not
that
vote
our country
for
could elect a black president.
Yes.
Was amazing.
Okay, but
we were
is this
so proud
topic
of
of this
that.
show?
We were so
are we
proud
doing
of that. And yet, after 8 years of him, the racial animosity is so intense that it's frightening. It is just frightening how intense the animosity has become.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say that's Barack Hussein Obama's
And
fault.
I believe it was majority his fault because it happened on his watch, and he was the commander-in-chief, and he was the supreme
We're getting
commander
off
of
the
the good ship United States. So it's his fault. He did it. Barack
This
Hussein
ship, the
Obama
SS
did it.
This ship, the SS Saturday Special, has gone way off course.
Has it?
So it's up. I think so, because now we're talking about the.
We're talking about
presidency
race,
of-
and which
of
is what
Barack
we're
Obama.
talking about, is it not? We're talking about race. What happened to us? Why can't we talk to each other? Why are we so insensitive that we can't say,
we could do-
I like
we
my
could
white
just-
race?
Okay, guys, hold
get
on a
back to it.
second. Time for me to
Yeah.
read an email that came in
Okay.
from Kathy Vance. Very well written email about speech. The Holocaust happened partly because lack of freedom of the people to speak. I understand your feelings about the prejudice against Jews and not wanting to have a reputation for being a Nazi radio station. But careful of falling for these new left-wing people that have been blaming white people for everything and trying to silence them so they can control the world. It does seem like they got to you just as they have gotten to so many others. Ridicule, ridicule, ridicule is one of the rules for radicals and communist tactics. This country is in trouble and going fast, and they're shouting all of us down to do it. By the way, Georgia has said white genocide is not the killing of whites, but just the disappearance of the white race. Yeah, that's true. She has said that, and that's
the
happening
white
because
people,
of
they wanna
breeding.
go
That's
ahead.
happening because of breeding, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
but it's because of white people. I'll tell you what's going on with white people. Every other white person
Wait.
thinks they're gay. Thinks they're
I want to
gay.
finish. Glenn, please. I just want to finish this email, and then you can
Okay.
talk. By the way, Georgia said white genocide is not the killing of whites, but just the disappearance of the white race. That guy talking now is doing the same thing. Your consultant is trying to control speech. I wish you'd read the Good Times article again. Bruce Bratton was so obvious. He and the rest of the left want to control the rest of us. I, for one, don't want my grandkids to live in that kind of world. He was upset that George's voice went out to all of Monterey Bay. The arrogance is unbelievable. Michael Olson, whom I've never heard, is absolutely right. Ask yourself this, WWKD, what would K do? I wish she was there. Boy.
I do too.
So do I too. So do I. But I answered an email during which that question was asked. If I can find it real quick here, go ahead, talk while I'm looking for that email. Glenn, you were saying something. Here it is.
Well,
I found it.
I'll tell you.
Can
Nobody is saying that you don't have the right to air white nationalist content on your radio station. You do. I'm not arguing for a government rule about how you program your station.
Yeah. Did we lose Glenn because he's on a cell phone? All right.
Program way by the masses that want to walk in your door and have a microphone. You do not owe them time on your radio station. You choose to give them time.
Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, I'm going to read this pretty short thread from Laurel Ganter. MZ, you have really dropped the ball this time. I don't always agree with you, but I have come to find out that you will sometimes create controversy purposely. Fine, but this time you've gone too far. KSCO is a bastion for free speech. My foot. What would your mother say? And then she says, P.S. I heard your explanation of Zionism last week, and in spite of being a Zionist Jew, as you've stated, you are ignorant on this subject. Not my fight. I don't care, but... And then I said, huh? I don't understand what you're saying. So Laurel writes back, really? Your muzzling of Georgia in particular, and the callers as well. What are you going to do about Michael Savage, who talks about the white genocide every show, Alex Jones, and God knows who else? Hey, Glenn,
Alex Jones
you
was not
told me
talking
that
about
you
that.
told me that both Alex and neither Alex nor you
Neither
want
of them
me to
are white
replace Georgia with Michael Savage. That's what you want.
No, I didn't say that. I said that
Well, you
could use
suggested
as
it.
a
It
place
was
keeper.
it
No,
was- that's right, as a
placekeeper until you
placeholder.
find a local host.
Okay. Okay, fine. So anyhow,
But I don't think Michael Savage, who happens to be Jewish, is in any way a racist. I think he's an economic nationalist for our language, our borders, and our culture. But notice how he doesn't say race. If it was Georgia, it would be borders, race,
Well, this
language.
one- this
Are you
person
speaking
claims-
for Georgia?
race-oriented-
It sounds like you're
He's a
speaking for
race-oriented
Georgia.
host.
I've never heard Georgia
I'm
say
saying-
that.
Everything on her show is about race.
Everything, no, it's not true. But what
Just
she
about
does, what
lately.
she does say, is that I stand up for my people, the white people. I have a right to stand up for my white people. Other people stand up for their people, and good for them.
And I don't have a problem with any of that. But hey, let me finish this letter. Michael Savage talks about white genocide every show. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Glenn? And Alex Jones and God knows who
I'm
else.
unaware of it. I don't think Michael Savage talks about
Laurel says you might as well shut KSCO down. Sometimes I wonder if you even listen to some of these shows. I heard you say that you would talk to George Norrie about having Charlie as a guest host with a bunch of question marks. Most of the topics entertained by Coast to Coast, Charlie poo-poos. Was that a good idea? I have always loved to be presented with any number of subjects. If I don't like them, I just don't listen. Just like I don't listen to Flight 1080 because of Billy Sunshine. I miss Dave's jokes and sweetness, but sorry. Did I clarify this
Well, let me
for
ask you this, Michael.
Wait, I'm
First,
almost done. I'm almost done. And I say, yes, thank you. What would my mother say? Unquestionably, she would have said, do what I did yesterday. That is, make certain topics off limits. But she probably would have disowned me long ago for being
Michael,
stupidly tolerant up until now. Okay, that's what I said.
Why don't you there's plenty of white nationalist talk shows out there. Why stop with Georgia? There's this guy Stormer or whatever on the internet. You should put him on. What about David Duke if he wanted to host a show?
Hey, I have a question about David Duke. I know nothing about him. I know that he was in the Ku Klux Klan some time ago, many years ago, as were a number of prominent Democrats. Okay? That's all I know about him. All I do know, though, that everybody condemns him for something, but I'm not sure what. And nobody will allow him to be interviewed on the radio or anything. So don't you think it would be fascinating to have somebody like that and put him on the radio?
I know the answer. I know the answer, at least in a broad sense. And that is, as a country, I think the vast majority of Americans are repulsed by racial extremism and racial nationalism. And,
Is that what people don't like about him? I don't know.
Let me finish. Okay. This whole concept of racial and ethnic pride and all that is really not what America is about. It's just not. I mean, the fact is we could all enjoy the cultures, but we don't say that one race is better than the other and that one race needs to exclude the other. When you start getting into that territory, it's bad news for a brand.
Do you think it's best?
Certainly a brand that wants to sell advertising.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's best to suppress news and opinion to keep it from being
total opinion?
Okay.
Yeah, I think you take. Look, everyone's got a brand. Fox has a brand, MSNBC has a brand, and they build that brand, and they get an audience, and they sell that audience to advertisers.
Our brand used to be free speech.
Well, like I said,
what does it become now?
It's completely
Almost
free speech. But you've got to be able to have some editorial control.
I agree with that.
Any station has the right.
But not what we've done. Not what I've done, Michael, yesterday.
Yeah.
Not making those
correct.
topics off limits.
That's correct.
Why own a radio station that you're losing $40,000 a month?
Well, that's Michael's business model. Nobody else
Why
on
do
earth
it?
has that business model.
Why do it?
Well,
Why do it if you can't have some personal control and responsibility over the ideas you put forth?
Michael
over the airwaves?
always has had that opportunity to exercise that control, and that's
And he
been
is doing
my
so,
argument
and I
with him.
applaud him.
Yeah.
And I applaud him for doing so.
Hey, can I tell a little story really quickly about what happened when I first came here a long time ago? Timothy McVeigh bombed the federal building in Oklahoma City. And what did KSCO do? It called up the Freemen in Montana. And we put them on the air, and we said, what the hell are you doing? And because we put the Freemen on the air and asked them, what the hell are you doing? Got a call from CBS this morning with Paul Azan, who said, Michael, would you like to join us on CBS this morning to talk about News Talk Radio? And I said, well, sure. And so at 2 o'clock in the morning, they showed up with this big stretch limousine, and by the time we got to Half Moon Bay, I felt like it must be what a pig feels like on the way to market. And I knew a little bit about what was going on because I worked for David Brinkley for 8 years. So I knew how media works. So when I got there, 4 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock East Coast time, the lights come on, the camera goes on, Paul Azan says, good morning, Michael Olson. Listen, is it true that News Talk Radio is responsible for all the hate in America? And that's what you're saying, Glenn.
No, if you say so, that's what I'm saying. But I'll speak for myself, thank you. What I'm saying is it's in the best interest of conservatives in this country who love this country and want to put America first and want to make America great, not to in any way endorse or promote white nationalism and racism and bigotry and racial hatred. And I see that is what this show has devolved to.
But you haven't
And
proved
I
up
know
with
enough-
anything.
You mean George's show? You're talking about George's show.
Yes.
You
Or
haven't
the
given
show.
us any
And it's not
information.
productive.
You
It's
haven't
not
proved it
productive for
up,
the
Glenn.
other
You're just
shows.
throwing words around. You're just
I already
calling
told you. You
names.
said that the
You're
black-
like the little red
No.
guards at the university.
gave you
Racist,
examples.
racist,
I gave you
racist.
No, I gave you examples.
He did give one example.
Which was?
And there was another example about something about a woman being compared to a black woman being compared to an ape, or something
Yep.
like. I got a lot of emails
She
about
has-
that.
He
And
has
you,
no
and you
history
listened to it,
of this.
and was it? You listened to it, right?
Yeah, I did listen to it, and it wasn't. It didn't cross the line for me. As I said, I've never listened to anything that Georgia had supposedly said that was over the
So the
line.
only
that was
thing
that was over my line.
So the only
Okay.
thing really objectionable
But
about
perception is everything.
well,
Perception is
and
everything.
there it is. That's the red guards. That's the red guardism.
Hey,
You
I'm-
can't
I'm-
even
I'm
talk
just
about
shocked
that,
that-
or you're a racist.
I'm strictly an economic capitalist and a libertarian. I believe in free speech all the way. So nobody's going to take that away from me. The fact is, you are in business and you are selling advertising. You, Michael Olson, are selling advertising. And you seem to want to go around town in Santa Cruz and get local businesses to sponsor this type of ideas.
I even like
These
him.
types
I
of
even
ideas.
like him to sponsor Billy Sunshine.
well,
See,
whatever,
you seem to
that's
think
it.
I'm some kind of white
Okay.
nationalist because I stand up for the First Amendment. You're wrong, Glenn
it's not the
Fisher.
First
You're a
Amendment.
red guard.
The First Amendment does not mean a private radio station has to let anyone speak whatever they want to say, racist or hateful or otherwise. It doesn't mean you have to. If that person wants to be racist on a street corner with a megaphone,
So then we should
they
all
have that
call
right.
Glenn Fisher up and say, Glenn, can we speak about this today? Is that what you're telling us here?
No,
Glenn
not my
Fisher,
job.
is this
I don't own the radio
approval?
station.
Is this a toxic substance today?
No.
Because that's what
That's
happened
not
with the
my
Red
job.
Guards, Glenn, because one day you could say something and it would be okay. And the
You
next day
apparently
you
think-
couldn't say
you
it.
know
They'd
what?
come and get you and haul you
are part
away.
of the- You are part of the problem because you are making money off all the advertising you sell. You don't have to pay a
I
dime
am
for the
making money
overhead
by
of
helping
KSCO.
people build their business, Glenn.
No, wait a
Right,
minute.
and those people are gonna
what
find
you
themselves
talked over what
subject
Glenn
of-
said. Glenn, what were you starting to say to Michael, which I think was going to be unkind?
What I'm saying is, he is, on the one hand, he is acting like you have an obligation to air anyone's opinion, whether you like it or not. Because
I didn't say that.
It's free speech.
No, he
Well,
didn't say
I'm
that.
saying that, okay? I'm saying that.
Well, then you
You might
didn't
not
mean
agree.
anything. What are you saying? What are
Hey,
you
let
putting
me
words
see.
in our mouth for?
You've been doing that all day, man. So I'm doing the same thing you're doing. But the fact is, I think the essence of what you're saying is that it is the obligation of the station to honor free speech, and therefore, anything goes on the radio.
No,
And I
this
don't
is a
believe
private station with a that is holding a public license. Okay,
I
so
don't
it
think
has
Mike-
obligations
Michael-
to the community, but it's a private station. Michael Zwirling can do whatever he wants. He has
And I'm
always
suggesting
wanted
he's
to be
making
a
the right
voice for
decision.
everyone, but now
He's
he's
making the right
changing his
decision
mind because you talked
not
him
to let-
into the fact that
No,
he's
not
being a
just me.
racist or something.
Look, the fact is,
No, that's not it.
in this town,
What was
you're
it?
gonna have
What
a hard
what
time-
was it then, Michael?
Glenn, Michael and Glenn both piped down, and I'll try to answer that question. Very good question, Michael. Thank you for asking it. Yes, I have always been a voice for everyone. And I guess I can't be a voice for everyone anymore because I as a business, I want KSCO to be a positive force, not a negative force, not just bitching and pissing and moaning all about everything and not coming up with any solutions. That's in. I said earlier in the program that I'm very proud of KSCO. I'm going to go back on that a little bit. I'm not really proud of KSCO because, as I would have liked to have been, because after 26 and a half years, I don't think we have been much more than a station for people to bitch about things, from all sides. Now, obviously, the conservatives take more advantage of it, because we don't have many lefty callers or hosts. We have fewer lefty hosts than we do the other variety. And I don't know. I just, I'm in my heart is still, I want to be a voice for everyone, but I don't think it's a wise thing. Sort of like, golly, that editorial, that commentary that my mom did right after 9/11, that was talking about these are not normal. In normal times, we want to be a voice for everyone. We always want to be a voice for everyone, but these are not normal times. We are in war now, probably a long war, and boy, was she right. It still isn't over 17 years later, right? And so we pulled off this host who was a guy named Peter Werby, and I think some of you will remember that. Just the total negative, nothing positive at all, and just hatred, just nothing but garbage. And we didn't think, Mom and I didn't think at the time that was a positive direction. We wanted to depart from our voice for everyone thing, which we did for a while, by pulling off his show. And he claimed that we had violated his First Amendment right. What a bunch of BS.
Yeah, he
You know.
doesn't have any right to anything. It's your
Right.
station.
I agree.
Nobody
I
has
agree
any
with
right
that.
to anything.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. I
But-
agree
but-
with that.
But as my station, I want the station. I want people who and maybe this is an impossible dream, but I want the station to be admired and used by everyone.
Responsibly.
Responsibly, yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. And so what's wrong with that? What's
And
wrong
I
with
think
that?
it's just one small comment here, and I think it's irresponsible to put forth a white nationalist agenda, especially when MSNBC and CNN and New York Times and Washington Post are doing such a good job of branding Trump as a racist, especially if you like Donald Trump. Why would you want to associate him with a bigot?
Boy, you got me stumped there on the apples and oranges. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I see what he's saying, Michael.
What
Makes
is it?
perfect sense to me.
What is he saying?
All right, let me ask you. Let me ask you the question that the
Sure.
Good Times guy asked me. Do you have a limit? What's your limit across the line across which Georgia or some other KSCO host steps and they lose your support? Do you have a line?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What is your line?
And it's graciousness.
Graciousness.
When a news talk host loses his or her cool, and answers anger with anger, and starts yelling and screaming, that's when it's beyond.
That makes
Instead of
good
being a
radio.
good Christian and turning the other cheek.
No. But calmly and graciously getting to the
Hey,
objection.
if you wanted
Just
to get
shut up for a
people
minute,
who are
Fisher. Just shut up.
okay,
Shut up
it
and,
sounds like
and
you're losing
just
your
shut
cool.
up.
Sounds like you're losing your
I
cool.
am, because you're being
saying shut up?
ungracious.
Well, it sounds like you're losing
Yeah,
your
try
cool.
not to
You're-
interrupt
you're a
because
hypocrite.
we can both
Okay. Well, that's what
talk
talk radio is all about. People talk over each other.
but it's not good. If you like that kind of talk radio, high price consultant,
It's
that's
the-
where
it's
you
what
that's
sells.
where
If
you
you're
and
listening to
I
Howard
respectfully disagree. Because
So-
I don't think
Stern,
that's good
Michael
for
So
anybody.
may I finish, Glenn?
Dr. Laura,
May I finish, Glenn? Would you
ahead.
give me permission to talk? So, I don't think that I think once you start deciding who can say what about what, then you take on a tremendous responsibility that I don't know if anybody really wants that much. Okay, now if Georgia or Michael Olson or anybody says something with which you disagree, I think you should pick up the phone and call in and say, "Look here, Bob, what exactly are you saying? Because I don't understand what you're saying."
it's clear what she's saying. It's clear what she's saying.
No, it's not. You're
And
missing it because you're hearing
people
it
have
from
done that.
anger. You're
People do
hearing
that.
it from anger
No.
and
Stop trying to be my psychologist.
a very bigoted place.
Okay, if you say so. Sounds
And
like
you're
pretty
not
angry.
listening to
I
what
think
she
I pissed you off.
says.
I think I raised your blood pressure.
Yes, you did. But I'm
Okay.
cool. I'm calling down now. But
Well,
again,
wait a
if
second,
if
according
you,
to your
Michael
own-
Zwirling,
One at a time,
All right.
please. Come
One at
on.
a time. It's my turn because he just had a lecture.
well, I
Okay.
haven't finished what I'm saying.
Going by what
Let him
your
finish, Glenn.
response-
Let him finish. He was going to address something to me. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Mike.
and this really is you, Michael. This is your radio station. Everybody acknowledges it. You may say, and you may allow people to say what you want them to say, but that is a huge, huge responsibility. Because once you disallow that which is toxic, which these days could be just about anything, then you are responsible for monitoring all the talk that goes on. And then if you are responsible for all that talk that goes on, then you're responsible for figuring out how to make everybody comply. So my discussion with you when you called me up and asked about your decision was that you have every right to set guidelines for your talk hosts on how they handle issues, on how they talk with people, and so on. That is that is your responsibility. I think that's what Mickey Luckoff did at KGO, and
No, but
Jack
he
Swanson.
chose hosts. They
And-
hired and fired hosts based on a lot of things.
Okay,
And they
but-
wouldn't put a host on like this host we're talking about, who would put forth white nationalist agenda on the radio. They wouldn't do it on KGO.
Well, again,
I did talk with Mickey yesterday on the telephone.
Ah,
But we didn't get very far. I just sort of reconnected with him after a few years,
Okay.
but I'm sure I'm going to invite him to come on with us, and yeah, for sure. But anyhow,
But I did notice. But he's spoken for so long. I did notice that he said, when you asked him, "Where is your line, Michael?" He said he would want mild-mannered, composed presenters like the BBC, and not anyone who loses their
no,
cool and
you
shouts.
didn't quite
Well, guess
get
what?
that right.
Guess what? The best talk show hosts, John and Ken and KFI-LA, they've been number one for 20 years. They yell.
Well, that's kind of what Georgia is. She's probably one of the best for that reason.
Yells.
What?
One of the things I like about her.
All right.
okay, Glenn, this is very good for you. You need to hear this. A short email from Brian Burleson that came in 4 minutes ago. Saturday special. MZ, you probably shouldn't take advice from a person who voted for the mocha Marxist, Obama. And I know that Brian Burleson is black himself on how to run your show. That said, I listened to George's show once in the last 3 to 4 months, and there were callers who got into the Jewish conspiracy nonsense and white nationalist-sounding rants. I think your opinion on banning white nationalist talk and Jewish conspiracy gibberish is a good one. Thank you, Brian. So,
well, and I don't mind that he doesn't like me for voting for Obama. I'm sorry I voted for him, but that's fine.
What else should we ban while we're at it? I mean, as long as we got a
good
start.
Point. Good point.
Let's ban all kinds of stuff while we're at it.
Anything that espouses a civil war, anything that espouses a civil war.
Yeah, we should not talk about the Civil War either, and especially not the Vietnam War.
Civil War. No, you see, once again, you're being a jerky. Okay, we're not talking about Civil War.
Was that a kind thing to say,
War.
Glenn?
We're talking about. We're talking about.
But really, why not? Why don't we ban everything while we're at it?
Trying to overthrow the government, trying to destabilize our society, threaten the police, threaten our civil order.
And everybody who says anything bad about Girl Scout cookies.
Hey, you know what? It's the right of the station owner to make that decision.
That's right.
And
no one's arguing that. Why are we hashing that over and over again? The only thing to hash over, and there's no point in hashing it over because my decision is made. We're not going to talk about that stuff because I don't want to.
Hallelujah.
That's why
well,
the decision
Michael,
is made.
I endorse. I have an idea on how we can make the show more interesting.
How?
This fight between me and Michael Olson is productive. Why don't we take calls and see what people out there think?
Oh, yes. My God, the show's almost over, and we have so many callers. By the way, I got a real pat on the back by Jeannie Howard. Jeannie, is that her name? Yeah. How can I forget?
Publisher, Good Times.
The publisher of the Good Times, who heard my editorial and said, I really admire you, Michael. I was looking for the email, but it doesn't matter. That's basically what it says. She's very happy that I came to the conclusion that I did, and she says it takes a big man to admit that he was wrong and turn around.
Do you see how all the Democrats love John McCain now?
And I'll be very
proud.
Isn't that amazing?
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, you can. But Glenn, it's time. We got people who have been waiting. Ryan has been waiting for an hour, 19 minutes, and 53 seconds. So let's put him on. Okay. How come my? Okay, now he's on. Yeah, Ryan in Santa Cruz, you're on with Glenn, the high-priced consultant, Michael Olson, and poor old beleaguered MZ.
Hello.
Hi, you're on.
Yes, sir. I've been on hold for 1 hour and 21 minutes listening to Mr. His surname is Fisher, right? Glenn Fisher. Yes.
Are you the guy? You sound just like the guy who called supposedly from
I am. Oh, I am.
From Saudi Arabia yesterday.
Oh no, from Atlanta. From Atlanta.
Oh, okay, the Atlanta guy. Okay, yeah.
That's right, the Atlanta guy. And I just thought that it was really strange that you've had this guy for 55 minutes running down the clock while you have literally a whole queue of you're a full queue of listeners wanting to defend Mrs. Georgia while you let this Chosenite show go on for 55 minutes.
How do you know? How do you know what the other people who are on hold want to do?
Oh, I'm psychic, Mr. Zverling. I'm psychic, just like you.
You're okay.
I'm psychic. I'm also psychic.
Go ahead, genius. Continue.
Yeah. I just wanted to make it aware to your audience that this tactic is called running down the clock, so that it would burn out the time for the rest of the callers who wanted to call in and give their support to one of the best shows on any network, and happens to be on your network, KSCO, Georgia Peaches show. And I think that you're an attack.
Apparently.
Oh yeah, I'm a white nationalist. I'm a white nationalist, Mr. Fisher, right? Just like you're a Chosenite nationalist, right? Do you have anything else to say, high-priced consultant? Do you? No. See, this is you're not going to pull this one on me, fellow. You're talking to someone with an IQ.
Ryan did wait a long time, Glenn. So let him talk here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Chosenite. He's obviously at.
But
Glenn,
you're not
let
a
him
Chosenite?
talk, please.
No,
Just let him talk.
no, Mr. Zverling, this is exactly what people need to hear on the air. This guy went on for 55 minutes lambasting, insulting, defaming whole groups of people for 55 minutes while you let him, and no, to your defense, actually, Mr. Zverling, to your defense, you called him upon his insidious tactics several times, and I am so pleased that this happened today on the air so that people can hear this and share it with tens of thousands of others. Because now people can hear once and for all how the tactic of not only running down the clock, but of subversion.
I don't need friends like you.
But Mr. Fisher, Mr. Fisher, let me speak. You've been on the air for 55 minutes, fellow. It's my turn to speak now.
If I was there, I would hang up in 1 second.
Of course you would, because you're terrified of the truth. You are terrified, fellow. You're terrified of the truth getting out. And Mr. Zverling, this is why I called into your program today. I wanted to tell you directly that it is called intellectual dishonesty. Being afraid of having people be on the air to present truth, no matter what that truth is. You should never be afraid of people telling the truth as they are.
What have you said
never.
That's true? What have you said that's true? Nothing. Go on to the next.
No, I'm not talking to you, Mr. Fisher, Chosenite Fisher, the big money bags, Mr. Sachs. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Mr. Zverling. You got that, Jack? Mr. Zverling, the reason that I was on hold for 1 hour and 22 minutes was because it's of critical importance to know that people are not going to tolerate the destruction of freedom of speech. They're not going to do it. And you're going to lose listeners. You are going to lose listeners like you've never lost listeners on KSCO ever before now.
How long have you known about us, Ryan? How long have you been familiar with KSCO?
For about 2.5 weeks now. 2.5 weeks, and I've listened to.
And how did that happen? How did you become aware of us?
By people sharing shows of Mrs. Georgia in various places, in chat rooms predominantly.
I see.
Of her talking about white genocide. And white genocide really is happening, particularly in Zimbabwe, formerly known as Rhodesia. If you're listening, please let me. I really need to say what I need to say.
Left the country. That's what happened.
Mr. Fisher, stop hogging the time. Stop running down the clock. Thank you.
No.
Mr. Zverling. What happened to Rhodesia, formerly Rhodesia, now known as Zimbabwe, is the exact same thing that is happening currently in South Africa. That is a statement of fact. A statement of fact. The leaders, the ANC, I believe that they are, is putting out a referendum to steal the Boers, white farmers, the Dutch farmers' lands, and not only give it to the blacks, but to forcibly remove them from their farms by violence. Now, Mr. Zverling, if you want to tell me that is not literally, by its literal definition, white genocide, then I'm sorry, brother, but you can't do that. You're not that intellectually dishonest, no? I mean, I understand how you feel about some topics that would be intellectually dishonest. And again, you're not dealing with someone with a room temperature IQ. I have a literal genius level IQ. So I don't play games, and I will not have games played against me, nor against the group of which I belong, Caucasoid, the white people. And white genocide is a statement of fact. Anything else to say, Mr. Fisher? Mr. Fisher?
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, Mr. Zverling, I said what I needed to say, but except...
I put Glenn back on.
Michael,
I wanted...
You cut my...
Yeah, I did. I put you on hold because you weren't courteous to somebody, and I believe in being courteous to everybody.
I got to be courteous to a guy calling me a Chosenite?
Well, I wanted to let him speak. He was on hold for a minute, an hour and 19 minutes.
So you know what? You need to exercise discretion. This guy's clearly an anti-Semite and a white nationalist hater. You can't see that?
Does that mean he hates white nationalists?
No, he's okay. Your point is well taken. A white nationalist, period. And new sentence, hater.
Okay. Why don't we go back to other callers? Should we do that? I'll just say take next, and that would be Judith in Santa Cruz. You're on with Glenn and MZ and Michael.
Hi, thank you for letting me on.
Sure. Thanks for waiting.
There are 52 different pronouns now that have been used to describe the new gender laws.
Yeah. Boy, I sure want to talk about that. I don't want to censor any of that.
Right?
I don't think that's toxic. I think what they're doing is toxic.
But this has to do with white supremacy. Anyway, the South African genocide is unbelievable. I really wanted to ask you, Michael Zwirling, how much time you've please put some time into studying the white genocide that we are so concerned about. I am a white girl. I am a liberal. I've put on benefits for blacks, everybody. I've worked for all different groups, but now I understand that we are being genocided. There's a little. It goes down to even in grammar schools now, the children. But if you look what's going on in South Africa, please, I want to ask you, how much time have you spent looking at the genocide? Because and this Mr. Fisher, I can only describe him as rabid. And I looked it up in the dictionary. He is absolutely rabid. He's so difficult to listen to. I wish you would keep him off the air for the rest of the show. He's very, very upset, and obviously upset about money or something. But with free speech, you can't say we can't talk about white genocide, but you can talk about the other genocide. That is racist beyond belief, sir. Please think about it. Please put some effort into studying this white genocide problem. I'm kind of nervous because you put me. I mean, I've been waiting, and
no, you're doing great, Judith. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, behind the scenes, what do you think is really? We as people, as a human race, are we really so enlightened now that we as a collective, that's ridiculous in a way because we're all at different levels of understanding, or not. But who's really behind the scenes and controlling this stuff? When anytime it's brought up that Jews might have anything to do with it, oh, that's off the board. Well, why is that off the board? Just because you're part Jewish? I mean, I'm part Jewish, and I say, wait a minute, look into this. But I'm not saying there was no Holocaust. Of course, many people were killed, but maybe it was exaggerated. Will I be thrown off the bus and killed now because I suggested it might be exaggerated?
Not
Do you see
thrown
what I'm
off
saying?
the bus and killed, but
I mean, you can't.
I don't want to promote lies.
But it's not a lie.
I don't want history to be rewritten.
When people
and
in Europe are
wait a
put
second.
in jail,
Let me finish. You asked me a
I'm
question.
sorry.
I'm going to try to answer you here.
I'm sorry.
Okay. It was pointed out to me recently by somebody, I forgot who, that when I was young, I'm 65, and I think there are people who were 55 or 45 now, who when they were kids in the United States, the educational system talked about the Holocaust. Now, for the last 2 decades or more, it's either avoided or some textbooks have gotten into the school systems, I believe, I can't prove this, that actually deny that the Holocaust or something called the Holocaust ever happened. But for sure, it's been avoided. And now that's why you have 20-somethings, kids in college, who when you talk about the Holocaust, they say, well, what's that?
No, they don't teach it. Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't teach it. They don't teach it, and I think that's really dangerous, because that's so I don't want to be a party to even geez, I'm talking myself into reversing my own edict now. Holy Christmas! I'm beginning to feel like I've done something terrible.
Well,
to
good.
not talking. Yeah, I've restricted talking about anything from Holocaust deniers. I guess I didn't restrict people calling up and saying the Holocaust was terrible and we should talk more about it. I guess I didn't do that, because if I did do that, I didn't mean to do that.
You do not want to
I think the Holocaust needs to be talked about way more than it has been for the last 2 or 3 decades. Because I think the huh?
Am I on the air?
Yeah, you're on.
You don't want to put somebody on who continues to beat on the same drum, that is completely unproductive for the true Republican or conservative or nationalistic movement, which is not racist and not anti-Semitic, and that's your right to do so. And as far as this woman is concerned, whatever you want to say about Zimbabwe, that sounds to me like it's dubious at best. The fact
You're an
is,
idiot.
we're talking about the United States.
Now, was that a kind thing to say to the high-priced consultant?
I think it
Now,
was
wait,
proper.
this woman is not talking about white genocide in Zimbabwe. The white
Yes,
people
she
left
is.
there.
Of course she is. We're talking about it.
She's primarily
It's
talking
a very
about
small
white
world. We are in
genocide
a very
the United
small world.
Okay.
Well, there's
All
more
right.
callers. Let's go.
Judith, thank you for calling 479-1080. Here's Downtown Al, who's waited a long time. You're on, Downtown Al. Hello.
Hey, great show as usual. And
Oh, thank
listen,
you.
of course I respect you, and it's a business you have to run. And, I've had a business too, and I'd say, I've done a lot more chicken. I'm the sort of person that doesn't put bumper stickers on my vehicle and didn't get involved in controversial topics. And
So I'm going to call
I
you
know that
Chicken
you
Al
got-
from now on instead of Downtown
you call
Al.
me Chicken Al. But listen, I wanted to say that, I, like Glenn, actually disliked Hillary Clinton so much that I actually re-registered as a Democrat just so I could vote for Bernie Sanders, who I don't agree with everything, but I respect certain things. But ended up voting for Trump in the end. And, I can understand some of his concerns, and some of his business advice has been good. But you have to realize now that the word Nazi has been pushed around so much that you are considered a Nazi as a Jewish person by some of these crazy communist left-wing people. And I can tell that Glenn is not completely in touch with what's going on in campuses, whereas Michael Olson is.
Yes, I am.
Well, you did not know that the name of Ben Shapiro and Milo Yiannopoulos was not on the tip of your tongue.
I did know
Ben
the name
Shapiro,
and I said Shapiro. I forgot his first name. But yes, I know about that, and it's horrible. And I agree with you.
Ben Shapiro is an Orthodox Jew and has been accused of being a Nazi, okay, and a white supremacist and everything else you can think of. And so has Milo Yiannopoulos.
A cartoonist named DeCenzo once wrote a cartoon with my mother talking into a microphone with a swastika on her sleeve.
So my point is, these people who attack stuff, as being Jewish, you're considered white. You know that, right? Now, in some of the cultural sensitivity stuff that I had to go through years ago at UCSC, Jews were singled out and told that they were people of color and that they needed to stand with the people of color and whatever else. Well, that's no longer the case. And you know that you are a part of Western culture. And this is really not a battle between white and black or people of color or anything like that. It's a battle between what we consider progressive Western culture here. And when I say the word progressive, I don't mean liberal progressive. And these people are just slinging this word Nazi around. And they're using anything they can to set one group against the other in this country.
And I don't want KSCO to be branded that way because wait, Glenn, let me talk.
Okay.
I don't want KSCO to be branded that way, and that's why I've done what I never in a million years thought I would do, because I didn't know of any other way to do it. Now, maybe there's some really smart person who's listening. Hopefully that person is on hold, because I don't think we're going to be able to get any more on hold, except if one opens up or people hang up.
But listen,
maybe there is a way. Maybe there is a way other than by censoring certain topics or avoiding certain topics, to not have the station go down a direction and develop a reputation that I don't think I want to have for the station. I mean, that I know I don't.
10
Listen,
seconds here for the caller.
I can
Al,
understand your sensitivity.
I completely agree with you. You are 100% correct. What's going on the campuses is ridiculous, and that's exactly why Michael has to be very careful and responsible about how he wants to put forth ideas on the radio station, and not to get branded.
I've never had to manage anything before, Glenn. Now I feel like I have to. There's no other way.
But
Yes,
listen,
you do. Yes, you
Michael,
do. You're doing the right thing.
Michael, you are never going to please everyone, and especially these left-wing communists, because if you give in on this, and I support Georgia in a lot of ways, if she's guilty of anything, it's guilty of letting certain people go on a little bit too long about certain things. And I know
I've
that
had
you probably
conversations
have.
with her off the. I've had
May I
conversations
weigh
her
in
off
with
the
a
air.
comment, Michael?
Oh, Michael is still there. Yeah,
Yes,
please.
I would like to weigh in with a
Just let me-
comment.
I-
If Glenn
give me
Fisher
a
would
second.
kindly shut his trap for just a
Just-
second or so.
You know what?
My comment would be that
I've been sitting around.
my
I've
comment
been
would be
sitting around
that
waiting for this chance to talk.
banning
Michael,
topics
can I-
is a bit like getting a tattoo. You get the tattoo, and you always wonder, what tattoo am I going to get next? And that's the problem with banning topics, is that, well, what are we going to ban next?
Yeah. Well, okay. Good point, Michael.
So
Do you think that there?
I
I
just
think.
wanted to say. I want to say
Wait,
something.
Al, just hold
north
on.
of
I
Georgia.
gotta get this out. Okay, we'll let you say that. You'll be
Okay.
able to say what you want to say, and so will Glenn. And so will everybody else who's on hold now. I promise, because we only have 20 minutes, but we'll get to everybody. I know it doesn't seem like it, but we will. Michael, are you and I on the same page about not wanting KSCO to have a reputation for being a fringe element, radio station and a haven for white supremacists and Nazis and Nazi sympathizers? Are we on the same page there?
Well, absolutely.
Okay. You clearly do not agree with the method that I have employed.
I do not agree.
Okay. So can you think of a better way than
Yes, I can.
than what we've done? Okay,
Yes, I can.
I'm all ears.
Then we sit down with the talk show hosts that are offending our sensibilities and have a conversation with them and come to an agreement with them about just how far we can go and so on. You can talk about everything, but there's only so much incitement that we would like you to conduct. And if you can't conduct yourself with the degree of behavior that we wish, then maybe we should part ways. But you may speak about anything. You can't use the 7 deadly words, but you can go ahead and speak about something. But if you start, inflaming the world with the rhetoric, then it's a different issue. Then you're not really discussing something, are you? Then you're really trying to sell something, sell an action or an activity. But I think everybody, all things should be on the table for discussion.
See, and that's why, though I love Georgia, I think she's an amazing host, and I agree with much of what she says.
What don't you agree with?
I don't want to go there now. Okay, I don't want to get. Maybe some other time. But
Okay.
right
Well,
now,
so
right
that's-
now, Michael, please let me
Okay.
just finish here. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Be aware. Be sensitive here. You're not you. You're Michael Zwirling now. Okay, try to put yourself in my shoes. Okay. I believe Georgia had one sponsor, Ray Parga from the gunsmithing. What's it called, Michael? I think you know that.
Yeah, Ray Parga.
Yeah, and
yeah.
he's in some problems where he's unable to, to advertise anymore. So that means that Michael Zwirling is Georgia's sole sponsor. Okay, and Georgia says and represents enough and sends us in the direction enough that I don't want to continue to be her sponsor anymore, unless
Well, that's up to
she is-
you.
Yeah, it is up to me. Okay. And I also don't want the radio station to go in that direction. And God, it hurts me to when hear MZ, the guy for 26 and a half years, has shot his mouth off on the radio saying, we're a voice for everyone. And now I have to say a voice for everyone except. And by going there, by going in that direction, I want to preserve our brand. I want to preserve our reputation so that we're not laughed at and that we don't go the way of the restaurant that had to close.
Okay, again,
May I
I think
say
you
something?
can do that, Michael. You can do that without banning topics. You can do that by having conversations with your talk show. Have you ever had a long sit down and just give guidelines?
Lots of them with Georgia. Lots of them. Lots of them. Yeah, and
Michael,
she ends up converting me.
She's pretty good, isn't she? Yeah.
So, Michael.
Yeah, go ahead,
Michael,
Al.
I really suggest that you have a show where you sit down with Georgia and you go after some of these topics and actually have a discussion about them. I think that would be great.
There you go.
But listen, you said something about this not being a positive radio station or whatever. I've got a whole list of shows that I listen to. There's Money Matters, there's Local Business. There's
No. It's a
There's
positive
Jackie
radio
Tucker,
station. I just
Bill
don't want. I
Perlberg,
want it to
Bruce
be all
James.
positive. I don't want it to go down the wrong path. That's all.
Well, it can't all be positive. She is in touch and dredging up with things that I think people like Glenn aren't totally in touch with, and maybe you aren't. It's people like me who waste far much of my time looking at on the Internet. It's the underbelly about what's going on right now on campuses. And I think Michael Olson was a little more in touch with that because of the studying of communist Chinese culture and what has gone on over there. And we really are in danger of losing, Western culture in this country. People are being shut down, and they're using anything. It's because you're white. It's because you're Jewish in a lot of cases, And, I just want to say, I heard Georgia say yesterday that she really is a nationalist, and that is people of all color who stand for what this country has always been about.
Well, if she could get that out, boy, I think it would be great. I think that's pretty positive. I think that's positive.
She does talk about that, and
I heard her yesterday say that too.
For a lot of people of color at a lot of different times. Now, if she's guilty of anything, it's probably letting certain callers who are toxic go on a little bit too long.
Yeah, you said that before, and that's true. That's absolutely true.
Has included people like Billy Sunshine. Now,
who's our next caller, I believe. We have to.
And listen, I love Billy, and I don't think he should be banned, but he says some really toxic things, like
if Georgia should be banned, and she's not banned. I just don't want her. And it's not just for Georgia, because a lot of people said, if you do this for Georgia, you got to restrict the others too. Of course that, and you have to get rid. And if Georgia leaves, and because she can't or won't, abide by the rules, then Billy Sunshine has to also, if he won't abide by the rules. Let's find out if he will. Anyhow, thank you very much. Okay. Well, go ahead. Say it real quick.
One last thing. I'm not a Holocaust denier, and I don't think Georgia is, okay? But,
I don't think so either.
You've allowed certain people to come on there that deny we've landed on the moon or that aliens built the pyramids or whatever, which is nonsense.
Yeah, but all that isn't personally and deeply offensive to me. But a Holocaust, there's nothing more offensive to me. I can't think of anything more offensive to me. Child pornography, I guess it's on the same. The just unspeakable things.
I understand that, and I agree with you. That is something that's just BS, and I have very little tolerance for myself. Okay?
All right, thank you, Al. Appreciate it. Here's Billy. Go ahead, Billy. Are you going to live by these rules or not?
Hi, MZ.
Hi.
The rule I'm having trouble living by is the one where I'm not allowed to comment on what Georgia has to say. I'm the one whose speech is being held back. To have to listen to what she says about Jews and blacks, and then to be stifled, to be told I can't speak. If we can't talk about Georgia, then
we don't want to talk about other. Call Georgia's show. I mean, you're a friggin' host yourself, just like she is. She doesn't call your show.
Her show. She won't take the call.
Well, that's her prerogative.
Yes, exactly.
But she has the same rules. We don't talk about Billy Sunshine on what he says on Flight 1080, or she doesn't.
But we do. They do.
She does.
She lies.
You mean she doesn't? She doesn't live by.
She lies like crazy about me on her last show, but I'm not allowed to respond. That's not fair. I'm the one who's being shut down, not Georgia. I can understand not wanting to be associated with the things I say, but do you want to be associated? With the things Georgia says. People judge us by who we hang out with. I would like to make the statement that I don't hang out with Georgia, that I don't agree with anything she says.
Well, you're making it right now. That's for sure. No question about that.
Yes, and I would like to ask for permission to, like Georgia, be able to talk about whatever I like.
Oh, I know what this is now. Now I see.
Yeah.
Our program director Rosemary has made a rule that I have always backed her up on, and that is
no longer appropriate.
we don't have hosts sniping other hosts on KSCO. We're just not into that. And no, I'm not going to make an exception.
This Jew should not be asked to be silent when told that Jews run the world and that we're the bankers who are, doing all the bad things. I'm tired of hearing the word Rothschild in her mouth. I'm tired of hearing the word, what, you know what I'm talking about. I should be allowed to respond. What do you think?
You're responding now. Yeah, I do think you're allowed to respond, and you are right now. You just want to do it
only
in
on 1 day a week.
In an unlimited sort of way.
I'm only on 1 day a week.
No. I think it's really low class. I don't want the radio station to be. We're low class enough. I don't want to get even lower class. Come on, Bill. You know what I'm saying. You know exactly what I'm saying. Anyhow, thank you for calling. Here's Joe and Salinas. Joe, you're on with MZ and MO. And where's Glenn? Where's Glenn? I guess Glenn isn't here anymore. Okay, but anyhow, Joe, you're on. I guess Joe isn't on. Okay, we'll take the next one.
Hello, you're there, Joe?
No, he's not. I didn't wait. I couldn't wait any longer. Huh? This is Gray in Capitola.
Okay? Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you hear me okay?
Yeah, Joe waited a long time, but I guess he had to go to the toilet or something. But now now Gray is on from Capitola.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gray.
Hey, you just broke your own rule about not talking about another host. Been talking about Georgia for a long time. Have you heard of One Nun Now? WONNUNNOW at yahoo.com?
No.
Anybody's welcome to write me on this. This is a really important subject to me. But I liked what the guy from Atlanta said and the lady had said. I've been thinking for quite a while now of starting a online radio station. But
yeah, anyone can do that.
Yeah, Michael Olson is there with you?
We're here. I am here. Go ahead.
I don't remember what show that I hear you on all the time. Maybe it's the food one, but
yeah, it's a food chain radio
that's his show. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can have a really good show if you're always on Saturday too. And but my main thing was, to me, a radio station is there for like three main things maybe. One of them is for advertising, not just so you can make money, but we want to know what products are out there, not just so they'll pay money to you, but we want to, so it's a good service to us. But I look at the radio station, even KSDO, as a roadway. There could be a Jewish person driving down there. There could be a black person. There could be some weird guy, just normally Santa Cruz weird, driving on it. And that's our roadways. Just like with the radio station, we don't own it, or I don't, but we own the airwaves. And I'm really big on freedom of speech. Colin Kaepernick, if he wants to do what he does, or Jehovah's Witnesses don't stand for the flag, that's peaceful. If Georgia wants to say what she has to say and Billy has to say, I think he has every right to respond too. I think I'm all for that. I won't tell you if I'm Democrat, Republican, or I have any label, but they have the right to say that. And I'm thinking recently with what's been going on with the new rules, when Kay used to get on there, a lot of people probably thought that was controversial. But she didn't get out there and say, I'm going to shoot all the people that don't believe in me. I mean, she had some really strong words to say, really good things. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if she was on today, if somebody would complain and say, you got to take that off. So I appreciate
a lot of people. Michael, didn't a lot of people used to say that when Mom was doing her commentary? You get a lot of that.
Oh yeah, Kay's whirling inflamed a lot of people and would no doubt have been banned in today's rules.
Yeah, and the one I was going to say something about the guy named
She's my mother.
That would have been really interesting, Z.
She would have spanked
people would pay to see that one.
Yeah, she would have. If she was here today, she'd probably spank you and then give you a hug. But that guy named Glenn, I could just, my mind, I'm just thinking, I bet he's a this, I bet he's that. He sounds really, he sounds prejudiced and racist. He really does. And I'm thinking about, when he's talking about like it's like he wants the ones that he thinks are persecuted, or the ones that are, he doesn't. If he doesn't believe in it, he doesn't think it should be on the air. And I'm thinking, how about the homeless people? They go through a lot, and they don't necessarily get to be on the air. They hear everybody else complaining about what they have to complain about. you know what? I could probably talk all day about this subject, and I hope that Michael Olson stays on the show. I came down there to get...
There's only 8 minutes left, not even that, and I got to get all these people on. So let me go. Thank you very much, Gray. I appreciate your call to 479-1080. Rory, thank you for the nice email you sent. That was an interesting article. I've already reached out to the professor, and hopefully we can get him on the radio one of these days.
Oh, that would be great. You mean the Professor Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. And
but anyhow, go ahead. We got only a few minutes left. We got to get everybody in. Yeah, a minute for each caller. Go ahead.
If I can't say what I think, then I don't get to think. And if I can't think, then I can't orient myself in the world. And if I can't do that, then I'm going to fall into a pit and take everyone else with me. Professor Peterson, University of Toronto.
Right. So that's a message. If I'm to take that message seriously, I should reverse what I did yesterday. Is that right?
Well, you can modify it. I like Michael Olson's thoughts on it. I think if you put bad ideas out there, or not you purposely, but callers,
or I'll consciously allow it to happen. Yeah.
Well, George has taken some calls from people that believe in Zionism conspiracy. I don't agree with it, and we will talk about it later. But I hope we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we're not allowed to talk about it unless, of course, you say positive things about Zionism. Then you're allowed. No, I'm only kidding. I want to avoid it at all.
Michael, you got to keep your sense of humor. If you,
I have. Didn't I just exhibit that just a minute ago? Just a second ago?
Radio. But if you muzzle people, then the humor goes. But don't bow to the red guards of today. There is, in the college campuses, there is an anti-white zeitgeist, okay? And it is cloaked under white privilege. It's anti-American. It's coming.
I agree with you. So how can I, in good conscience, how can I support that? Which is what I'm doing by changing the rules, huh? Anyhow, Rory, thank you.
Last comment, quick comment, and blow out the news at the top of the hour. This is way more important. This is important because you have to, like the Holocaust. We've got to talk about what happened in World War II. The Holocaust, because you're right, people are being dumbed down. And I sent you this article about my grandfather's cousin, and he said, this was between August 10th and 11th, 1943. He said the last remaining Jews in the Baron-Hirst ghetto departed during the night between the 10th and the 11th of August. This is 43. The Jewish colony Salonika, founded before the discovery of America, and which numbered some 60,000 people, is no more. This is it.
Okay, Rory, I hate to do this, but I've given you 3 minutes already, and I said just one. So I love Rory, but here's Mike in Santa Cruz. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, quickly, MZ, you've got to interview David Zuniga, the founder and director of America Again. Now, America Again is really founded on the opportunity now to finally be the self-governing sovereign suggested in the U.S. Constitution. Out of many, one people. We need to zoom back from our myopic self-preoccupation and recognize if we can't get back to constitutional republic, it doesn't matter all these lesser arguments. So I'm imploring you, just like I suggested before in the past, for you to interview other people. Interview David Zuniga, the founder of America.
Please send me an email. Please send me an email, Mike, with a list of these things, how to get in touch with them. I appreciate it very much. Our next caller is Linda in Aptos. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, Michael. I'm afraid that you're taking... Georgia has never said anything about being a Holocaust denier or anti-Semitic or any of this other stuff. People call up and they speak. And sometimes I think she is set up and people are misconstruing like Glenn Fisher and Billy Sunshine is just such a big liar. He can't get his point across without lying about it.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
You please reconsider this. This is not fair. The only thing that George is concerned about is her people, as she says. That's what she said yesterday. Well, I'm one of her people. You're one of her people. We're white. She's trying to point out that we are being exterminated slowly. And we need to start standing up.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling the KSCO. Bonnie and Carmel, you're on.
Hello. I'm calling as a person of color. I am half Caucasian and half Asian, and I'm very proud of being half white. I'm also proud of being half Asian. And so I come from a place of non-prejudice, and I really hope that you do not bow to the leftist Marxist agenda of silencing people, of controlling people, not letting
No, I'm
them
not going to do that.
express themselves.
Do you also hope that I don't? Do I also hope that we don't play any that we don't set any guidelines? Just nothing. Just no lines.
And I don't
to draw
understand, for example, why the Omei restaurant had to bow and close. I mean, why didn't you just hire a whole new crew and keep going? Why would you do this? We are.
I can't speak for the owner.
Okay, the white race is under threat. And I also want to ask you: are you going to ban Michael Savage? Are you going to ban Alex Jones? I mean, all of these people bring up these issues.
Okay, the answer is no. No. I haven't heard them. I haven't heard them. Talk about race. Okay, and no, I haven't banned Georgia either. She still has a show. I've just set down some rules, and I said, now these are the rules you got to live by. If you can't or won't live by them, then okay, we'll agree to part company. That's all we've done. I haven't banned Georgia. I haven't done that, and wouldn't do that. Okay,
well, I wasn't saying that you were banning. I wasn't saying you were banning Georgia, but it's just the whole business of it's bordering on taking away her free speech rights and taking away her guest.
No, it's not. Stop saying that. I'm sorry, I'm losing my temper here.
Easy.
I'm sorry, but the freedom of speech has nothing to do with a private radio station's ownership's decision on how he runs his business.
That's
Don't ever bring up freedom of speech again. I'm just sick and tired of it. Get it through your head. Okay. Go ahead, Humble Brian, and then Jose in Watsonville, and then Colonel Terry. Go ahead, Humble Brian, you're on.
Like also, well, a whole bunch of stuff. One thing you notice in the movies now, the white guys almost all the time are all nervous and stupid, and the black guys are sharp, and the guys of color, they're sharp. They got it all together. They do anything. But it was the white genius that built this country, but the black and other labor that they used. So the Civil War, the whites won the Civil War. Okay, some blacks fought in all the rights, the fights for the rights, the giant marches in Washington, almost all white. It was the white people who fought for the rights of the black people. It was the real American white people who would not put up with it. And I see so many things going on. There is a concerted effort, and it's about taking down America. It's about taking down white America. You take down white America, you're taking down America. And that's what's going on. We don't need fights. We don't need racial division.
Humble.
We need brotherhood. We need togetherness.
I should be muzzling you now, or else I'm
that's
not,
what's going on. I have so many examples. I taught school. I taught school with kids of color. I know what's going on. I know what they're thinking. I know what they would like to do. I've had them say it right. I say, well, what did I do? They said, you're white. That's why we don't. I've seen so many things. It's too much to tell. My show tomorrow, I'll go into some of this, and I'll give you people an earful. We are
Spirit of
under
America
attack.
Rising. Are you going to take calls, or is it going to be a speech?
I might take some calls tomorrow. I had another plan, but I think we got to let people talk. So, folks, tune in tomorrow. Let's tear it up, all right? And I love my black brothers and sisters. I love all the people.
But wait a minute, we haven't changed the rule that went into effect yesterday. I hope you're not going to talk about white genocide and the things that I don't want.
No, but also I just want to say my Uncle High broke the locks and went in to that when they liberated a big death camp. He told me about it because he spoke Yiddish. They sent him in first. Denying the Holocaust, it's like saying there was never really any slavery. There were no chains. There were no whipping. Slavery's a lie. It never happened. Same thing.
Okay. All right, thanks, Humble. We'll be listening to your show tomorrow. Here's Oh No God. Oh, I just hung up on the Watsonville. Please call back. Here's Colonel Terry. Colonel Terry, you're on. Quick.
KSCO should put on more smart talk, as you and I have talked about.
Of course.
And that's neither left-wing lunatic nor right-wing ridiculous. It's the well-informed, yes, and highly intelligent, well-educated, and intellectually honest and logical. Smart.
Did you go out and buy that internet name, smarttalk.com?
Copyrighted and Writers Guild registered and other things, yes.
Yeah, but what about the internet? That's the only thing that counts.
All right, we will add that. But,
yeah, go ahead and do that. I think you might find that someone else has it, or they might sell it to you for $500,000 or something. But anyhow, thank you for calling. Here's Jose. Thanks for calling back, Jose. You're on.
Thanks, MZ, for taking my call.
Sure.
Man, so many things to talk about. First of all, I was going to say, if you're going to censor Georgia, I listened to the show yesterday. I didn't like it, man. You might as well just get rid of her if you're going to do that. And I'm a son of 2 immigrants, and I key in on what Georgia says. And I also served 8 years in the Army. Black people talk about white people talk about black people. All the races do it. If you call a person a name or whatever, you're not a racist. I grew up in Houston, Texas. You know, I had black teachers, I had white teachers. My trade right now was taught to me by 2 black men. One black man taught me, you're only offended if you want to be. And one thing I did see in Houston, I saw all these people that they call racist and rednecks. Those were the people that went out and helped with their own money. You know, and just don't do that to Georgia. And that's all I got to say.
Bless you, Jose. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for calling very much. Oy, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. You know what I want to accomplish. Maybe the way that I have defined to get to where where I want to what I want to accomplish isn't the best way. Maybe Michael Olson's way is a better way. Maybe there's a way we haven't thought about yet. But I want to thank everybody for caring, and let's just hope that in the future that the answers will appear and that things will work out the way I think most of our audience would like, and that's for KSCO to be a positive force and not have to practice any kind of censorship. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Michael, very much for being on. Thank you, Glenn. Thanks for all the callers for their emails, and I didn't even get to any of them. There are so many more, but and we blew through both of the newses, the 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock news. So that I guess that's it. That's all, folks. Right? Yeah. And thank you, Jason.
Thank you. That's all, folks.
KSCO Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose. Here's the end of the news. Or here's Jason with the weather or something. So,
all right. Wow, 12:06 at KSCO, your favorite radio station, AM 1080, FM 1041, KSCO.com. Let's get a look at your traffic. Yes, Highway 1 northbound into Santa Cruz. Heavy stuff there. Rio Del Mar all the way to 41st, 5 to 10 miles an hour the whole way. Southbound, that's your good news. Clear all the way to Monterey. A little bit of traffic there southbound into Carmel. 68 clear, 101, not a problem unless you're headed through Morgan Hill southbound. Heavy stuff there, 5 to 10 from Coyote to past Tennant. 17 southbound, majorly heavy. 85 all the way to the Lex there. You're doing about 5 miles an hour. You pick up from there, although you're really not back to the limit until after you get past the summit. Northbound 17 is clear. Highways 9, 152, 156, 183, 218 all clear. And it's 65 degrees here in Santa Cruz right now. Don't forget to stop by this weekend. Get your longevity products. We've got great deals going on all weekend. Dave in the cave till 2. He's stocked up with whatever you need. I'll be here after that. Come on down 2300 Portola Drive, Santa Cruz. Get your Doc Wally products and get healthy. It's 12:08. Time for the Perspectives Radio Show with your host, Dr. David Biles on KSCO.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before